If you want to escape Microsoft Visual Studio with C++ development, then keep watching. I'll show you how to do it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look up Microsoft Visual Studio Build Tools Download, because this is what we're going to need to actually run our programs. So we're going to scroll down to the bottom where we see Tools for Visual Studio. Click this. Go down to Build Tools for Visual Studio 2022 and press Download. Now once you're down here, once you have your download and it's finished, you can click it. And then once you get to here, you want to check Desktop Development with C++ and then press Install. Now once you have that downloaded, you should be able to press your search button, type X64, and you'll have Native Tools Command Prompt for VS 2022. So now that you have to have this open, what you need to do is right here I created a little folder which stores this little project I have, which is just a hello world, and you have to navigate to this path within this command line. So I'll type change directory and then the path of my folder. Now I'm in this directory, and what I can do is say CL, which stands for command and link, my files, which I want to link, which is just this main, or compile, which just is this main.cpp file, /out, and then you can name it whatever you want the executable to be named, and I'll do game.exe. So as you can see, I have an object file and a main.exe file, and if I were to run my main.exe, which is type main, you'll see I'll get my hello script, which is right here. Well, now you must be thinking, hey, that's cool, now I can do that, but now I want to include my libraries and stuff. That's why I use VS Code, because it's so easy to do that, and I want all the features, but how do I actually do this from scratch? Well, I'll show you. So I included some OpenGL, GLAD, and here are the libs, and what you do, and also I edited my script to include the GLAD file. So what you have to do is type CL, and then to have your includes, you need to type /I. This stands for include, and what you do is you type in your path. So this would be, we want to include my includes folder. So what this line will do is include all these files into my project. Then I type in the code I want to compile and run, or in link, which is the CPP file. Then you need to pass in what you need to link. So you say /link, and now everything you put before it will be the files you link. So in our case, this would be lib glfw3.lib lib/glfw3dll.lib. This is the folder which it's contained in, because we're working with it in this directory right here. So I have to open this folder and then grab the lib file, and then you type /out and what you want the executable to be named, which I'll do main.exe. And there you go, and it successfully compiles, and we can run it again, and we get the correct program, and we see we get no errors, we get no include errors, because we've successfully included our GLAD, which is right here. So now let's put some actual GLFW and OpenGL code in here, and let's get a window up. So what you may be thinking in Visual Studio, after you put your libs that you need in your include folders through however you do that method, which in my case, I would right click here, press properties, I would select which debugger or form I'm using. I'll go right here, put in my include directories, and then I would go over to the linker, put in where my link folders were right here in the additional library directories, and then in my input I would put in my actual lib files that I'm using. So we did all that. So now if we were to do the same thing in Visual Studio, we should expect a window and our program to successfully compile now. So we run the same command as last time, and what happens? Well, we get a bunch of link errors. And why is that? Well, the first thing you need to understand is how the linker really works and what's its job. Well, its job is to link all the files together and all their functions into one executable so they can all communicate to each other and run the actual program. So why are we getting a bunch of link errors and unresolved externals here? Because we literally followed what we would do in Visual Studio. So what are we missing in our program? Because I'm copying everything from Visual Studio. Well, there's something that Visual Studio does that you don't actually realize. At least I didn't realize when I tried to do this. This took me 4 days of constant work to finally figure this out, because there's not a lot of information out here. So I really want to help you guys and figure it out. If we go over back to our input, we can see this additional dependencies. Well, what are these additional dependencies? Well, we can see we have all of these other lib files. What Microsoft Visual Studio does is it includes all these other lib files that you don't know about. And I'm talking in Windows case right here. These are all window lib files, which you may have in Linux or Mac or something, but here's specifically Windows. They include all these other files, and what And the reason that this isn't working and we're getting all these unresolved link errors is because we're not including some of these files. In OpenGL's case, we need the kernel, the user, the GDI, the shell, and I think one more, but I'll figure that out. So we need those files because we're forgetting to add those files into our actual project. This is the same thing with SFML. If you try to include your lib files and your include, and you try to run the program without including these additional dependencies that Microsoft Visual Studio already adds, you will get the same link error. Because for, in my case, Windows, OpenGL and SFML, they all communicate through the Windows kernel, and they're going to need those library files, because what the linker does is take those lib files and allow the program to actually communicate together. So since we don't have these lib files, we can't communicate with these functions because the program doesn't know they exist because we're not adding them. So we need to add these correct libs. So that's cool and all, but where do I actually find all these lib files that Microsoft Visual Studio is using? Well, for Windows, what you need to do is you got to go to your local disk and then your program files x86, scroll down, and you'll see Windows kits. Click that, use 10, and then you'll see this lib. You click on the lib, go to the newest one, and then you'll use and then whatever you're developing in, which in my case I'm using x64, you can see this is where all the lib files. Now if you were to search up any of these lib files, you'll see them all right here. And for example, I'll show you that user32.lib lives here, and you see it's right there. So now once you drag all those into a lib folder, I have all these ones, and in this case for OpenGL and like SFML and SDL, they use these lib files: GDI, kernel, shell, and user. So now when we go back to our program, what we need to do, and also don't forget glad.c, what we need to do is link all these lib files. So command and link /i or include main.cpp, glad.c, then /link all of these lib files, which I'll do really quick. Then after that, /out, and we'll do game.exe. But we get another error. And you can see that we get this default lib msvcrt conflicts with the use of other libs, use / blah 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 blah. So why is this an actual issue? Well, here's the main problem. With OpenGL, you need to understand that whatever you're doing, you need to understand what your library is doing. Is it multi-threaded? Is it using DLLs? In our case, we're using DLLs, okay? So if you are using DLLs, you need to specify that you're using DLLs. Additionally, you need to provide one more lib file, and in this case it's called msvcrt. So once you find this msvcrt lib file, which should be in the Windows kits again, if it's not, you can look it up and figure out where it should be on your computer, and we have it right here. We can go back and we can retype this command in. So now we bring up the same command, and let's make sure we include this lib folder or lib file, msvcrt.lib. But we still get this error. Now all the link errors are gone, but now we just have this one last one. So what's the deal now? Well, to specify, you have to specify to the build tools that you want to specifically use DLLs, and that's what you want to use. So we have to go back to the start where we say CL, and right before we do our /i to include, we say /md. And then now if we run it, we can see it compile successfully. And if we go back to our folder, we can see we have this game.exe, and if we double click on it, we can see we finally get our window. So now OpenGL is successfully running and working from a completely handmade project. This also goes with SFML. If you have to have these little includes right here because Microsoft Visual Studio automatically does it for you, where here you have to do it manually. So make sure you get your correct lib files in here. And all you have to do to do all these includes is type /i. And also make sure that if you need DLLs like SFML does, you have your DLLs with your main executable file. But now we have complete control. We're completely free. I can add whatever files I want, source, and I can drag all these source files in here. And now all I have to do is just specify that I want where these files are when I actually create my program. But this is kind of annoying to type out this really long command every single time I want to just build and execute my file. So how can we fix that? Well, you can use / batch files. So we can create a build.bat file right here and press edit. Now what this does is we can run console commands like from right here in this file. So let me copy this over real quick. And now that I have this over, we have to specify where these files are because I moved them. And what we can say is we can say source all the CPP files that we ever make and source / our glad.c. Now that we have this build.bat right here, what we can do is we can go over back into our build tools right here. And if we open our directory, we see our build.bat. If we run our build, we can see it automatically builds it for us by just typing build. And then we can type in our game executable and we're going to see we get our window again. And again, this works for all types of libraries. You just have to realize what lib files you need to actually include. So now you're completely handmade, and what you can do now is you can say for Sublime, what we can do is now we can use Sublime. Because now we can open this folder and use Sublime if we wanted to edit our actual program, and I can show you that I'm doing this. If I just say printf, I'm free from Visual Studio. And now if I add this and I save it and I go back to my build tools, I type build, we build it, type game, and now we can see that it prints out I'm free right here like I just told it to do. So now you can edit your entire folder from different editors. We could go over to Visual Studio, do the same thing. You can use any editor you want now. Now you are officially free from Microsoft Visual Studio, and you can customize all your editors and go to whatever editor you want, and you are finally free. If you have any questions, you can comment them down below. You can tell me if I did a good job or what I need to improve on, because I would very gladly take the info to try to make these videos better for you. If you're fed up like Microsoft Visual Studio like me, I want to add custom fonts, couldn't add custom fonts, I was tired of it crashing, tired of it being slow, and I wanted to escape. I'm here to help you. I figured it out. It took me a long time, and I don't want you guys to go through that same suffering that I did. If I wasn't clear on anything, or you guys want me to redo the video because I did a really bad job, just let me know, and I'll do it for you guys. So have a good one, guys.